Hi, and welcome to this exercise on variables. So here we're going to start to define variables or memory locations where we can store data. And the data can be, for example, strings, integers, floats, or booleans. And those are exactly what we're going to practice in this segment. So if we look here, we have our little example world where we store our strings up to the left. So it says hey, hello, and string could typically be any text, like so. And I use citation marks, double quotation or single quotation marks around it typically, but we'll see that more in the actual exercise. Then we have integers in the top right. So there we have your numbers, 5, 256, 1200. So those are whole numbers. Could also be 4 or -1 or 0, for example. Then in the bottom left of the bookshelf, we have floats. So here we see numbers like 124.5, 35.442. So of course we could still have a 4 there, but it would be a different type of force because it's actually 4.00000. We could also have -1.5, for example, as examples of floats. And then in the bottom right, we have booleans. So those are just two, true or false. Sometimes, true can also be said to be 1 in some like older languages like C, for example. And false is also sometimes known as 0. But that's your yes and no data type. So if we move on to here, we can actually do it like this. Oh, yeah, I'm pushing all buttons now. This one. So here we have our workspace where we're gonna do the coding. So there is a nice image here which explains the different parts of the code. So we will have to also see some code which is around the code that we are writing. So as it says here, there is a class solution here, which just has to be there. It looks also a little bit different. Now I'm going to use Python as my example. If we go to Kotlin, it says also class solution, but it has some different parts here. If we go to Ruby, it says class solution also. If we go to Go, it also says something like func new solution here instead. So that's not a class anymore. But I'm going to use Python as my example here. So some parts of this is not so important. This you don't have to care about really. Also the first init method here is also something we don't really have to do anything about. We're getting some kind of API or application program interface as input, and we save that on the class. But largely what you're going to be looking at are these methods which are called level 2, level 3 something. So in level 2 we're going to go here and write code in the for the integer variable here, where it says write your code here. We'll also see when we get to level 2 that this one will be marked, making it a little bit easier. And then level 3 with the string variable, we'll be writing our code here. So there is some kind of extra code that we don't really have to do anything with or care so much about. So here in this exercise, it's showing that and just explaining what's important, namely this little part where we write our code. And the other parts can be disregarded. So what is then a variable? This exercise is called variable also. In the course syllabus here, it's called variables. So variables are basically named locations where we store data. So we get to give it a name, like I could write A equals 10. And we can also say that this is not a very good example of a name. Now the name is A. A better name could be, for example, length, or even length of course or something. I don't know what I'm developing now, but could be. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that giving it a longer, more descriptive name is better than using just a one-letter variable. And what this means is that I will now save the value 10 in A, and here I'm saving the value 100 in the variable length of course. So I have a name and a value, and this equal sign here is the assignment operator. This will vary a bit per language, and you will see the text to the left here, this description changes as you change language here. If we go to C#, it will look differently, and yeah, this starting code is a little bit different, and the description for level 2 will be different. But I'm showing the example now in Python. So that's what the variable is, and we talked about the name being to the left, assignment operator, and then the initial value that we give it here. Later we can of course change it, so if I want to use this length of course here, I can do length of course plus equals 10. That will add 10 to the variable. So we start to give it a value, and then we can update it and change it and read it and use the value of it later. That's the nice thing with the variable. Yeah, so this is basically what we'll be doing. So maybe we should go through also the different parts here. So integer variable, then we're gonna assign a variable with an integer value and then return it here. So returning it means basically doing this, return length of course, then we'll return whatever value is in that variable. And then we do the same thing for a string variable here. So Python is not so fiddly with typing, meaning when I start and create this variable length of course, I'm not saying that it's an integer. In many other languages, you have to also state what is in the variable. So you say that the variable is of integer type or string type or float type. And that will be given in each of those languages when you read in the description here and go to that particular level. You will see that there. But in Python, we just write it. So here we can call a variable name, for example, and my name is Henrik, so I could write like that. And what I have to think about is to use quotation marks before and after the value that I give to the variable name. So in float, we can see it here. I would write, for example, temperature equals 20.3. So the float part is or what makes it a float is that I put .3 there. So I'm not bound to whole numbers like with the integer. And then we have, actually I should reset the code here, I see. Yeah. So continuing on, we have booleans here. So boolean could be correct is equal to true, for example. And then if I want to return that value, I can do it like so, return correct. And that is basically what you'll be doing, but you will be looking at the different levels here and see what value you should return. And it will be given here in the canvas in the bottom left, and actually also written to the left here with examples on how to do it. So that's the variables exercise. Good luck solving it.